Alright, we're getting ready to put some primer on the deck of our Alcort Super Sailfish Shaja. Going to use some topside primer that sent to us by Jamestown Distributors of the TotalBoat product. What we've started off doing is we opened up the can. There's a lot of solids down in the bottom of the can, so we pour out about half of the can into a little cup. Then get all the solids mixed up, and then we pour the lighter stuff back in. We've mixed it pretty well, so we just make sure it's all mixed up. Now this is a fresh can, so I'm not really too concerned about lumpy stuff, but I'll go ahead and pour it through a strainer anyway. But definitely, if you've got a can that's been opened, sometimes a little skin can form on the top of it if it dries a little bit. If you're looking for a super smooth surface, you want to send that through a strainer before you pour it into the pan you're going to be working out of. So. A little brush to tip, a little roller kit comes with the frame and the cover and the tray and a couple of gloves. Start off by getting the roller loaded up. A little bit of paint. I've got some detail work back on the edge here, so I'll just kind of cut it in. We just put the fairing compound on, so that's still drying. It'll dry in 4 hours, but we're going to start working the deck here. Pick a pattern that works for you. This plywood's pretty dry, so starting off by going cross grain a little bit, try to get the product down there, and then you can come across and lightly tip it to try to get rid of some brush marks. Switch to the roller. Just using light pressure on the roller, almost fingertip pressure. If you press down real hard, you'll start getting lines of excess primer, and those lines will show up. You'll have to be having to do some sanding later. light brush across the surface to see if you see any kind of little roller marks. Might call it stipple or once this fairing compound dries, we're going to come back over the top of it with probably some 60 grit or 120 grit to get it smoothed out. But this first coat we put on, our ship's carpenter buddy he likes to call it the flood coat. We're just kind of flooding the product on there. Not putting, we are spreading it out a little bit, not putting so much that we leave big puddles. But we're just trying to get a lot of product on the surface. Then we'll come in behind that with what he calls a finish coat. I'm sorry, the show coat, second coat will help show us where we need to do a little more work. And then we'll finish up the third coat. Primarily the topside paint, the finish coat. So you get the general idea there. We'll just, we like to work left to right because we can roll it and then brush that primer back onto the surface, lifting the brush so we don't have a hard brush mark where we started. So we work from what they call a wet edge up here and flow that paint lightly back onto the paint that's behind it. Since I'm right-handed, brush in the right hand and bring it back on that way. Trying to avoid real hard lines, letting that dry. If it does dry, just put a little more of your primer or your paint on there, get it wet again, activated, a little light dip with the brush, and then just I'm working on. We'll get the rest of it on. Get your picture when it's done.